understand it, even if it was explained very simply.
Yeah,
Like the reasons that the problems exist.
Yeah, I mean, to me, firsthand, like the general feeling that I got from the clip is that this person was like really judgmental and looking down on these people. And I think that just by that factor, if he already has this bias, he's not going to be able to genuinely listen to what Black people have to say for themselves, because he doesn't see them at the same level as he sees white people.
Yeah, there's clearly a bias going on for sure. But I think it's coupled with, not being very bright. So then you've got like a situation where he's biased and then not very bright. So good luck explaining the problem to him.
Right.
Okay.
But by the way, didn't he? Because I got at some point I couldn't hear anymore. But like he was talking about personal responsibility shit, right? Yeah, that thing is like it just pisses me off in a completely crazy way. First off, again, it's so stupidly cruel. Like it's like, oh yeah, because I had to suffer, so then everybody else needs to suffer, which is very constructive. And then it's also like, no, America is already very cruel. Like whoever you are, pretty much, even white people, like there's many ways you can get fucked up. I don't think America has a problem with personal responsibility. Like, or at least I don't think the solution is through like being meaner to people. I mean, people are being fucked up by the system already enough. I don't think there's a problem like that.
Yeah, what's funny to me is that these kinds of people, they say, they point out the exception, they point out Oprah and Obama, and they say, look, Black people can get to the top, it's possible,
right.
meritocracy and stuff. And they say, look at Obama, like you're also a Black person, so if he can get there, then you can too. But they're not, instead of asking like, look, instead of pointing to this one, the one person that made it up, they don't ask the question as to like, why is there so many people that cannot get there, that aren't there? What is happening down there that makes the vast majority of people, and I include white people in this, but for the sake of this, we'll say Black people. Why they're not thinking? They're not thinking about the reasons why people stay poor. The vast majority of the population stays poor for a systemic reason. Like they're not thinking about that. They're just saying they're just saying like, well, they're poor because they're Black and they're lazy. But they're not thinking about like the whole thing around it.
Most people are very bad at numbers, though, like in terms of thinking in averages and statistics and big numbers. Because if they have their little example, then they can justify all sorts of stupid things that they already want to believe because they have an example, example or 10 example, whatever, in a country of over 300 million people.
Yeah. But one of the things I wanted to point out about the same thing you were talking about is the likelihood is that this poor individual who just gave us his opinion and everything is most likely poor as fuck and is just regurgitating shit.
Well, actually, I gotta say, the typical individual like this are usually like middle classish, like maybe they have their own little business, and they're like perennially paranoid about losing whatever status they have. So it's like they're on the border between, oh, I'm kind of a hot shot to like I'm just like a little shit. So I wouldn't bet that these guys are actually working class.
Okay. Okay, let's go to the next one.
Whites might be hesitant to express their opinions about being proud to be white because one of the first things that comes to mind is white power and just racism in a negative way, when it doesn't necessarily mean that, I'm proud to be white, but I don't think that anybody should be not proud because they're not white. I think everybody should be proud of whatever they are. I think it would be wonderful if we could have a universal white culture that we could all bond over as some other racial groups get to do. being white is just as beautiful as being black or being brown or any other color of the rainbow. And, we should just all take pride in whatever hand we were dealt.
Okay. I just want to say, I hope to God we never get to the point where there is a white culture that we can all bond over, okay? I'm praying to God that moment never happens.
Well, I mean,
the first thing that I thought is like, white culture is racism.
Right? That's exactly what I thought too. The first thing that came
White
to mind is
culture
like
literally
racism.
I don't understand that one.
What?
Why is that? Why do you say that?
Because most people are most white people are racist, if not all of them.
I mean, pretty much everyone's racist if you want to go there.
Okay,
but
look, the thing
I think being proud of any immutable characteristic is pretty retarded.
I just think that like whiteness has been constructed by like the whole colonial ideals,
it's to keep anyone of different ethnicity, color out of being white. The moment you want to say, hey, I'm proud of being white, it means you want to exclude everyone else out of that. And that's where the racism comes in.
Well, there could be a dictionary issue too.
No, but I think it's again the same thing we were saying before. It's again personal grievance. She's like, oh no, everybody's got a club, but I don't get a club, right?
Yeah,
I want a club too. It's
why
like,
can't I have community? Because you created capitalism. That's why. That's why you can have community. You created the most individualistic fucking society you could ever imagine. That's why you don't have a community.
But did she?
So,
I mean, I don't really give a shit about a racial community. It seems kind of fucking insane to me. But I understand the idea of not being encouraging no one to be ashamed of the way they were born, their race, whatever. But
no one is shamed into being white. So I don't know where she's coming from.
I mean, to be fair,
there's definitely plenty of white guilt.
Yeah, to be fair, there are a lot of both idiots online who propagate this idea that you should be like ashamed for whatever privilege you have, and second, people who do feel that about themselves and they're like completely fucking pathetic. And I have no patience for these people. So that's exists. But that said, I mean, maybe don't listen to those people. Like, you don't need to freaking go and make a video.
Pride should come from things that you did or like you are or whatever. Like, I don't understand the idea of proud of anything that's like an immutable thing that you didn't do anything to, like, you just happened to be born a certain way. Now
she does not
you're proud of it.
I don't think she means pride. She just means club. She just means, okay, why don't I get a freaking different color, a badge,
Yeah, and that seemed evident with the old, we could have one little culture that we all, we have our own dances and stuff.
Exactly.
It's like, okay, well,
which she does, which by the way she does. She's American, okay? Okay, here's pisses me off. Why are Americans so unaware of being American? Like, you guys exist and we have a lot of stereotypes for you guys, okay? We have plenty. We can give you so many.
Look, we view ourselves as the default. Like, if you're going to the character selection screen and just click enter, that's us.
I mean, jokes apart, I think a lot of people in the US, I mean, it's not just the US, I mean, to be fair, but like think that people outside of the US think of Americans as the default, but it isn't. It's not like
right. Of course not. It's like our strange narcissistic worldview. But, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I have no interest in being part of a race club at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I would prefer not to be in the white race club. If I could choose, I would not be in that club.
Well, you do. Wait, hold on. You do need piercing, and if I'm not wrong, you have piercing already, Marilu. So I think.
Well, because I feel like
Oh, I only have ear piercings and
Okay, but
I
maybe that.
but I feel like in this context, pride usually just means or pride. It usually just refers to not being ashamed. Because like if you think about gay pride, I mean, is anyone like proud of being gay?
No, but that's fair. I mean, I think it's the same idea, right? The idea is, hey, people shit all over us, and actually, no,
Mhm.
we're not bad, right? There's nothing wrong with us. But the difference
Oh,
is
okay.
that for gay people, that makes sense because actually,
Yeah.
they
Right.
work
You know,
out
society
upon
has
and
been viewing them as bad and all this kind of
Right.
shit.
Well, that's what
So,
I'm saying. In the context of if you're framing pride in the context of just I'm not ashamed of this,
Mhm.
yeah.
then fine. Be proud of whatever the fuck you want.
Mhm. Yeah.
I think there's a limit to where you can have pride.
Well, go on.
That
What are you thinking?
Yeah, that's about it. I mean, there are like look, if you have pride in being an extremist or some sort of crazy person, I think that might be
But
too
we're
much.
but we're just talking about hands you were dealt, not what you've chosen.
But is that what she was saying? Just be proud of the hand you were dealt? It
Well, I
doesn't
don't
feel
think
like
no
that
one's
what she's
choosing their race when they're born.
Well, that's it. So, like, there's valid reasons for people to have certain clubs per se, right? They've been oppressed, they've been dragged through the dirt, through history and all that kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and there's been kind of one unifying oppressor. And if you want to be that proud of that history in some way, because you kind of have to say like you're proud of you know being the cause of a lot
Well,
of issues in the
then,
world.
but you're first of all, you're assuming we're attaching our identity to something that someone that's less related, since we're all related at some point,
Uh-huh.
that's less related to you than me. So therefore, it had more to do with me than you, and I'm kind of just rejecting that.
Go
Like,
on.
I don't think I have any. There's nothing to feel proud of for an accomplishment of something I'm slightly more related to than you, or a something terrible from someone that's slightly more related to me than you.
Mhm.
I just reject that idea entirely.
Yeah. I think the point is, look, uh, racial sort of solidarity makes sense when your group is targeted. Otherwise, it's dumb. Like,
Yeah,
like,
agreed.
like there is no reason to form any type of either in the positive or in the negative like
Mhm.
bond through race, unless you literally are targeted and it's a question of survival and
Mhm.
and protection.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So,
I'm with you there.
yeah.
Okay. 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 Are you guys ready for the next one?
Maybe.
Maybe.
It's funny. This was like 6 years ago,
I know, right?
and no one's watching them.
I know. I wonder
By
why.
the way, look at the
I do
amazing.
feel
Oh my God. Ooh, this is a Karen. This is a Karen. I don't
Yeah.
want to be. I feel like I'm being misogynistic right now. Sorry. Sorry. I'm being slightly racist towards blonde Americans. I'm sorry.
It's okay. All right, you guys are ready?
They're very sensitive about their hair. I would watch out.
I do feel as if people have preconceived notions about me being a blonde, cliche looking white girl. I live with an African American. We do the same things, we live the same life. But I guess inherently there's never going to be a time where a person with lighter skin completely understands what a person with darker skin might go through on a daily basis, whether it be as small as feeling like they were being glared at by somebody on the bus, or whether or not it was an ignorant comment that some stranger that they met might have said to them on the side. If that never happens to the other half of that couple, maybe there is always going to be a little bit of a boundary between what white people and African American people can understand about each other.
Okay, she wasn't bad.
Yeah, no, I don't have anything to say to that. She could
Daniel,
be on
is 75% of your social network entirely white people? That's
I
the
never tallied
question.
it up. I never tallied it up. I don't have a percentage on that. Although I would bet at least 75% of my listeners are.
Oh wow.
I've had maybe one black guy come up to me and say, "Hey."
And you were like patiently explaining to him that that's not his.
No, you got the wrong guy. The rapper is over on
All
that.
right. Let me explain to you the history of American music.
Okay, so she wasn't bad. Like there was nothing really offensive by what she was saying or anything. She seemed pretty open minded to the idea that at least one side is gonna never really understand.
Yeah, well, and I think a decent amount of the shit that us white folks might say that could rub black folks the wrong way kind of is rooted in that, where some of it is just malicious and fuck those people, but some of it is just legitimately like, I mean, if you live your whole life in a certain way, you legitimately don't get it. So it's almost there's always just going to be biases from whoever you are and however your life's gone. So it's like, if let's say you grew up your whole life, I don't know, getting attacked by ninjas. Well, I mean, by the time you're an adult, you're like, man, these Asians got to fucking go, right?
Hey! Not all ninjas are Asian.
That's true.
That's a
That
that's
is a
very clear.
stereotype. I'm sorry about that. I am so well. But I'm saying, like, we can't get out of, like, okay, if we're not, like, it goes back to the ignorance thing a lot of times, and then there is some maliciousness, but I think a lot of the shit is just comes down to ignorance, and not being like, oh, fuck these people, but more just like, huh, is it really a problem? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think it was, pretty. It was definitely the best video so far. Like,
Yes.
I think she's thinking, so that's good. She has thought processes about racial bias, so that's good. She's questioning, her experience and comparing it. Um, it looks like she was about to cry, like that. I didn't
Yeah, well,
understand.
and I'm
Well,
about to
she's a
say
blonde.
I'll say some white people shit, because, like, 100%, I would never know how it is to be a black person in America, but then at the same time, it's like, right, but you don't know, like, the contrast is the same on the other side, where it's like, you don't know that we've got to share notes here, right, to really figure out all the differences. So my my notes might be different, but I don't know unless we're sharing notes.
Yeah, I mean, I like that she was admitting that she could never, really, really understand what the other person was going through. But I guess the only thing that kind of I thought was a little weird, and I think I'm stretching. I might be, looking to pick out the dirty stuff, but it looks like she was kind of putting into question the experiences of her mate or partner. I'm not sure. Like, she was like, whether or not they received like a glare, or whether or not they received a weird comment or whatever. It was like kind of like she was like, well, I don't know if he lived that, instead of just being like, yeah, he probably did experience that.
Yeah, well, you have people that fuck it up for everybody, like Jussie Smollett.
Or Will Smith. Will Smith.
Well, sure, but at least he didn't make up the well, he kind of did make up
Okay,
the attack,
look,
but
look.
a little
The word
different.
here's the problem. Okay, well let's go with this, right? You saw this is the difference in how society handles this kind of shit, right? The guy is famous to some extent or whatever, right? And they decided to throw the book at him. I think he's going to jail for how long? Like a year or
Not,
2 years or
less than
something?
a year, I think, maybe half a year, something like that.
some weird shit like that, right? Like they threw the book at him. Whereas you have infinite amount of Karens out there always making complaints and calling cops and making false reports and all this
Okay,
kind of shit.
no,
Now,
that's not equivalent, dude.
what?
That's not. I mean, that's insane. But
You
that's
do.
not,
What are you saying?
he
Do you think it's
tried
not?
to stage? Yeah, he tried to stage a hate crime, a fake hate crime,
Yeah.
to
What do
stir
you?
up to stir up like a race war in the country. Yeah, no, that's definitely a
Okay,
worse.
first of all,
he paid people to attack him so he could start a race war.
what are you saying?
What are you guys talking about? I don't even
Jesse
know.
Smollett, Jesse Smollett, or whatever his name is.
I don't know. I have no clue. What
Basically, it's like this American person who plays some character in some show, and he apparently, I don't know if he did, and I'm not gonna make the assumption. Either way, it doesn't matter. Apparently, he made a false statement to the cops about some racial attack.
He hired people to like fake beat him up. The people he hired even were black. Like he couldn't even find white dudes to hire. At least hire white dudes so you could pin it on Jesus. And then they found like a check he wrote to him. Okay, well maybe don't do that. Don't write them a check. Use cash at least. Jesus Christ. And so he hired them to like beat him up in the middle of Chicago. So then he claims he was like, they were, you know, calling him N-words and tying nooses around his neck and wearing Trump hats. And it turns out none of that's true, but he was trying to use it as like some sort of, I guess maybe he knew he was gonna be killed off on the show or something, and he wanted something to do. I don't know.
Okay.
When was this?
It was a couple years back.
Yeah, I think it was 2019 or something like that.
But he recently came back up because he recently got sentenced because they found out that it was like all made up. He planned it.
Anyway,
but point is that, like, you know, it's the crying wolf thing. So if you hear crying wolf, then it's easy for people to dismiss real shit.
But did you just see my point where I brought up Karen's doing the same thing and you dismissed it and you just pointed out
it's not the same thing.
What do you mean it's not the same thing?
Calling the cops, it's stupid and racist and whatever. But if a Karen calls the cops because she perceives some black person doing something wrong, it's not the same thing as staging that black people beat her up and raped her.
You do understand they were charging him for making a false police report. It had nothing to do with anything that had to do on the report. It was for making the false report. That was the reason why he was being charged.
What are the words that you're saying?
I think he was. I'm not sure.
Because it's going to be it's extremely hard for them to prove that they staged it or whatever.
Hoax is very different than a stupid police report, though. Like,
you know, it's not really a stupid police report if, you know, a Karen or whatever is, you know, seeing someone walk in the street, is she's not happy about it, and she tells the police officers that this person has this black person has assaulted her. Well, it's not true. They're just
no. In that case, sure.
The person out of the neighborhood.
So I need
this happens, you know.
Sure, I need examples. I need like this case, blah blah blah. Because then maybe I'm sure there are cases where it is the same kind of thing going on. But that's not even my point. My point isn't that white people don't do it.
Okay, so then what's your point? Because I'm a little lost.
My point is that people that want to justify not believing the experiences of black people because we're bad at numbers, use cases like this to say, hey, I have an anecdote where they were lying about it. So there you go. Now I can safely say, it's all bullshit. It's stupid, but those are the types of things they use. It's like I don't know, but it's like something.
It is definitely
like something.
Yeah, no, but I get what you mean. I don't think I've heard this specific case being brought up in this kind of argument, but I can see some people bringing it up like in the future.
Well, I think I would assume.
Stupid.
So
when I would assume like a lot of black people were probably pissed at him when it came out what had happened. Because then it looks shitty in terms. It's just like that the kid who cried wolf thing, and it says nothing because it's one case in countless cases. And then, but it's so highly publicized, especially because he's famous, that now it gives ammo to people that want to use it for shitty causes.
Yes,
What we're
and this
trying to
is
say,
and this is where the
is that-
issue is, right?
Mhm.
How you know, it takes one bad apple in a community to do something, and then to just view that as being the whole entire community. Whereas when you have a shit ton of Karens doing this shit on a regular, and yet the society does not view that as being bad apples. That's the whole entire point.
No,
You know-
I mean, yeah,
Yes,
if you
go
have
ahead.
a specific case, I would talk about that. Like, if it's the same thing, then I completely agree. But there is the unfair sort of thing where I feel like a lot of Black people feel this like unfair pressure to like represent their people, whereas obviously white people don't, because we just feel like, well, that doesn't represent us. That's just a crazy fucking white dude.
Yeah, I remember a case. I don't know. It was probably like 3 years ago. Maybe there was like a woman in Central Park.
Yes, I was gonna bring up that one. It's the
best
With
dog
her
walking
and
Karen
don't
or
know if
whatever.
I don't know if she ended up like being arrested and charged.
No,
though.
she wasn't. That's
No, she
that's
lost her
Yeah,
job,
that's
but-
it.
she lost her job and that was it. But she didn't get arrested. She
And-
didn't make any she didn't get anything for
and
false reporting.
This was also really highly publicized. I
Yeah.
remember like people were talking about it a lot. It was on tape. So if she
What
didn't
happened?
get,
I don't.
So-
what happened?
So this
this
Karen,
woman-
probably go find a video, Darno.
Well, yeah, but it's very painful. So this woman was walking her dog in Central Park in a place where basically people go to do bird watching. Okay, however, so it's forbidden to walk your dog there. This dude, black dude, was walking around and saw her and told her, "Hey, you can't walk your dog here." And she was like, "Oh, fuck off! Oh, you can't tell me that." And he was like, "No, you really have to go away." You know, they started kind of like quarreling, and she started like freaking out and saying, "Oh, I'm gonna call the cops and tell them there's a black dude that is threatening me."
so at this moment of the recording, I end up having some technical difficulties and I lose connection with the rest of the group. So I do restart it, but the conversation has switched over to something else. So